I'm Kelly, and thanks for joining me today, where we're going to talk about the items needed to begin crocheting, or if you want to buy a gift for your loved one who crochets. I have an entire video that talks about choosing the right hooks and yarn for your first project, but if you want to buy a gift for someone, I would suggest, if you can find the kind of hooks that they're already using, just buy more of the same. Those things are always rolling under the couch or something, so you can always use more. And then you know you've bought ones that your loved one enjoys using. For yarn, I would try to give it your best estimate and get the right amount of yarn to make the kind of projects that your loved one usually makes. If they usually make afghans and you just buy them one ball of yarn, that probably won't be all that useful. Get several. If they usually make baby booties or something, then one ball of yarn will probably be quite sufficient. So let's talk about the other tools that you need. First off, you'll definitely need a yarn needle. And I put some of my items on a little blocking board to make them easier to see. A yarn needle is basically anything that's not sharp at the bottom and has a nice big eye that you can thread the yarn through. You'll also probably want stitch markers, and I've demonstrated a couple kinds here. This is a split ring marker that just slides into the stitch, and this is a locking needle or locking stitch marker that kind of looks like a safety pin, but it's not sharp. And then I just wanted to point out that this is a circular stitch marker that's for knitting. That's not useful for crochet. Don't get that kind. Besides that, you'd probably want to get, some T-pins, which are what I use to attach these to the board. Those are good for blocking. You probably also want a good sharp pair of scissors, probably with a point. And then you'll almost definitely want a tape measure. That's really useful not only for measuring the items that you're making, but to measure yourself if you're going to make clothing. Some additional items that maybe aren't necessary to start but are really nice and are good for a gift would be a ball winder. This is really great if your yarn either comes in a hank, which often a lot of hand-dyed yarns will come in a hank, or if you've got a tangle and you want to just unwind it and start over. You might want some blocking boards, which are what these are, to pin down your items when they're done and stretch them out and make them look really nice. You don't have to have that. You could just pin them to a towel, but having these are really nice, especially this kind with the grid on it so you can measure as you go. They also make these little foam things that are intended to be for kids' rooms. Those make really good blocking boards too. There's also, if your loved one likes to make doilies, they might love this mat. This helps you make a nice perfect circle when you pin down your doily as it's completed. You might also want to buy a Swift, and I don't have an example of that because I just cobbled mine together with Tinker Toys, but remember how you used to always see pictures of someone's granny making them hold their arms out while she wound the yarn around their arms? That's what a Swift is. This is just a tool to do that in case you don't have a grandkid laying around. You might also want some highlighter tape. If you're reading a written pattern that has lots and lots of rows, you can put this down, highlight the row that you're working on to make it easier to see. This is really handy. You might also want a yarn scale or even a kitchen scale. If you wanted to know how many yards of yarn you've used, most yarn will say on the package what it weighs, so you could weigh it, see how much was left, and then extrapolate from that how many yards you've used and or how many yards you have left. And a really great gift for someone is project bags. This is about the size that I prefer. It's big enough that you can put a pattern in it without having to bend it, and it zips closed so you won't lose any of your small pieces. But there are tons of project bags out there. There's different sizes for different types of projects, and I think that that would make a really great gift. It's something that I would definitely enjoy receiving. So I hope that that gives you some ideas of what you need for your beginner's kit and what you might want to buy a loved one for a gift. Thanks for joining me today, and happy crocheting.